Greetings and welcome to Wizards of Fun. My name is Eric, and today I'm very excited because today we have our first guest joining us, at least the first guest on the Sorcery AUDIOCAST is what I'm kind of calling this series, where I basically turn on a mic and ramble about sorcery. But I am kind of a newer player, and I'm still getting my footing and am a bit of a schmo in the competitive scene. But today we have someone who is not a schmo. He's the opposite of the schmo. He's actually the champion of the Portland, Oregon, Portland Game Store, Cornerstone. And he goes by the name of Portland Stu. Stu, thanks so much for joining today, man. I appreciate you taking your time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's exciting to be here, and I'm still a little bit. I mean, I think we both joined the game around a similar time, but I did go in hard from the start, and yeah, had a good run at actually both. I've gone undefeated in our cornerstones so far, both of the
Yeah.
Portland cornerstones.
So was there, when you say you went undefeated in multiple cornerstones, are you referring to the two that were at the Portland Game Store? Because before I hopped on the call, I know that you were at there's another store in Portland called Fab Foundry, which
So
stands for Flesh and Blood.
yeah,
And
at
you
the
topped
Fab.
eight in that, right?
Well, I technically got top four because I was in a play. I'm an actor. So I went undefeated, got to top four, and then had to drop out of the semifinals because I was performing that night and it had gone
Oh,
so late.
no. I see.
So
So you were
I
undefeated up until the point where you had to leave.
yeah. So didn't get to, fight it out in that one for the top four. But yeah, it's this particular deck that I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit, which is similar to a lot of other decks out there right now. Has not lost a game at a cornerstone yet.
Yeah, and you and I haven't had the privilege, besides playing online through tabletop. I've yet to play in person. So I was
Yeah.
very you did take some time to play with me the other day, and I learned a lot just from our single game playing. So I guess if it's all right, before we jump into the deck, I just wanted to ask, and just to get to know you a little better. What is your history with other trading card games, and how competitively did you play them? Because I get the sense that you probably were pretty good at brewing decks in other games.
Yeah. Well, definitely a gamer. I love trading card games. I also do a lot of tabletop gaming, and my other main game is actually Go, like the ancient Chinese slash Japanese strategy board game. I organize a lot of events for that in the Portland area and play a lot of Go. But yeah, I don't know. As a kid, I I was one of the like first wave Pokemon card players, and I was like the one kid in my friend group who knew the rules of how to play Pokemon cards. And so I'd like trade all my Charizards for like Kangaskhans and Scythers so that I could build these like really competitive decks, and I'd go and like be playing against adults at the local tournaments. I was a pretty like uh winning Pokemon player as a kid, and then switched to Magic because I wanted to get into the real games. And I never really got that great at Magic, to be honest. The game was so well established by the time I joined, and I didn't wasn't able to invest enough to build competitive constructed decks. But I did love to draft, and definitely drafted on a local level for here and there for many years, and then just kind of burnt out on Magic. I probably stopped playing Magic in like probably went to my last draft in probably 2016, 2015, something like that. So I'd kind of been out of trading card games for a while when I got into sorcery, but I'd just been like researching trading card games forever. And so, like I flirted with the idea of playing Flesh and Blood and like a lot of these other games that came out. I was considering Lorcana at one point, like, because I wanted a game that, felt a little younger and more interesting than Magic, and also with like a less expensive buy-in. Like Magic,
Right.
if you want to play constructed, it just costs so much to get the cards, and then the cards are always changing, and And then yeah, like I'd say like right around SCG Con or not SCG Con, Gen Con, I like saw a video about sorcery online in my YouTube feed, and I was like, wait a second. I started looking into it. It was like the positional play, like as someone who's big into like strategy turn-based board games, like I was like, oh, this like the positionality of it and how the grid works like really drew me in. And then when I heard the one release a year combined with the card limit based on rarity, I was like, this is it, like this is the game. And I just went in hard and fast and was, and yeah, no looking back. Like it really is the perfect game in my opinion. Like the rarity thing, I feel like people
Yeah.
don't talk about that enough, but it really makes the game so accessible. Like the deck that I have done really well with is a mono fire druid deck, and I built it not having looked at anyone else's lists like really early on in my playing, because I was like, oh, there's all these like pretty solid, exceptional, and ordinary fire minions, and like I don't have to worry about threshold if I go monocolor. And I was able to build a deck that could do really well, and I had zero of like really busted uniques, right? Like, and I remember like the first video I watched about sorcery was all about Hot Springs Druid, and there was this like, oh, it's just a pile of uniques thing, and I was like, well, I can't build a pile of uniques yet. I don't have enough of the cards, and I can't spend that much money, but I was able to like beat Hot Springs Druid, like because even with a pile of uniques, like you can't reliably draw any one super good card, right? So you can't build your deck around that idea.
Right. No, that's a good point with sorcery. That's definitely also true for myself, but I've also been introducing the game to some friends and some coworkers, and if they come from another game like Magic where having a mythic copy, like a card that costs $30 but you need 4 copies of it, if they come from that sort
Yeah,
of game, that fact alone where like, oh, you can only have one unique in 2 elites is usually what
yeah.
when I see like the glimmer in their eye, I can tell a spark goes off in their head where they're like, "Wait, what?"
Oh
Like,
yeah,
"Oh, wow, that's really accessible." And then like you said, just going down the list of checking a box of what a lot of I'm not sure how old you are, but I imagine we're in a similar age demographic of what we look for in a game and balancing a competitive game that scratches that itch, but on top of real life. I think this game just checks, for me personally, it checks, I think, every box, like everything you mentioned. One
yeah.
set a year and the amount of uniques, and then just the creativity in just your explanation, and we'll dive into your deck here. In that
Well,
you're like, well, I don't have these uniques, so I'm gonna build something outside of that, and you were able to make it work, and you've been undefeated with it. So that's
yeah.
incredible.
Well, and now I have all the uniques, right? Like,
Sure.
'cause the other thing that happens is, right, like you get, right, like to get a Morgana and a Boudica cost me, I think, $60, right? And those were the only two that I wasn't able to just trade. Like I managed to trade a foil I opened for a jihad from someone else locally, and like that's the thing I wasn't expecting getting into sorcery was just the community, which I feel like I'm sure you've talked about in your videos, but like the the real like bonus kicker when you start playing sorcery is like you get in with the community and it's like everyone is so friendly, like the gameplay, like compared to Magic where like you just end up in all of these matches where people are trying to rush you and get you to misplay, and sorcery is like the opposite where people will be like, oh wait, you didn't use that thing that you could have used, like, oh, you haven't tapped your avatar, do you want to draw a sight before you end your turn, like
Right. Yeah, and it's also the first trading card game where people actually trade cards.
oh
In my
yeah, because it's so
experience.
much. Oh, I do so much trade. Well, because the foils are so beautiful. I mean, the art obviously incredible, and like it's really cool to foil out your decks and whatnot. But
Right.
for me, as like a newer player, like I just want to get a full play set of everything. So whenever I open a foil, I just toss that in my trade box, and I can always trade. Like I got like a foil Lord of Unland, and I managed to trade him for like 3 uniques and 4 elites that I needed to work on towards my play set, right? And like it's just so. yeah, it's so tradable still, and everyone's enjoying the trades too. It's like not a predatory trade scene either. Like,
Yeah. And all of my trades, like, yeah, it's like I try to get them even, but I've also had trades where I'm like, I honestly don't know how much this is worth. And they're like, I don't know how much my card is worth, but we both agree, like, I want your card and you want mine. So, like, who cares? Like, it's just,
yeah,
it's been very positive. And if we do have a concern, we always look it up. But it's the first, like, in Magic, I'd always bring a trade binder. And either no one wanted any of the cards I had for trade, or they already had them, or like you said, that's actually a good tip. I probably will pull out some of my common or my common and exceptional foils and put them into the trade binder now, because I'm also looking
oh
to just
yeah,
have like a play set of everything. So that's a good idea. I'm probably gonna do that.
yeah. Well, and like, like foil basic sites, like, man, everyone, you need 12 foil deserts if you want to foil out your deck. So
It's a good point.
it's like shockingly good trade material.
And have you always played Druid, or have you played around with anything else?
Oh yeah, I play around with a lot of. I mean, I like one thing another thing I love about sorcery is, because it's early in the game, and like literally like in the last 3 months that I've been playing, I've watched the meta change. Right, like when I joined, everyone was like Archimago's unbeatable. Then it was like Hot Springs, they've solved it. And now it's like all of these different Druid variants are battling it out, and Avatar of Air keeps like threatening to be the new final boss. Like, I know Duo just dropped a great video about Avatar of Air tech, and I've seen a lot of players starting to really rock that. So like the meta is still changing, and you can really brew. My The first deck I built was a Fire Druid just because I didn't have many cards, and like someone I traded my like handful of Magic cards I had left to someone for a big box of bulk when I first started, and so I had lots of Violymps and Colicky Dragonettes and stuff, and just built a simple Fire Druid deck. But then like the next deck I worked on was sort of a, what do we call it, a dust sorcerer. I've got like a earth air sorcerer that I've been fiddling with, and I've played that in a couple. I think the other PGS tournament I saw you at, I was playing the dust sorcerer, which is a great deck, but it just like always loses to Fire Druid, and Fire Druid's really popular in our local scene, so I didn't want to bring it to the Cornerstone.
Yeah, it's incredible to me to see how much the meta changes over the course of the year, because like you said, you and I joined at a similar time. So I've only been playing for, I don't know, 3 maybe 4 months, and I think 3 months actually. And like you said, even within just that time frame, like when I joined, everyone was talking about Archimago, and then it was Steam Druid.
Yeah.
Now it's Mono Fire Druid, and then you mentioned Avatar of Air. I've seen that popping around as well. There's a gentleman who comes to our events named Griff, and he's been playing. Yeah, I guess it's a dust. It's like Avatar Air, but it splashes in some earth with the Pudge Butchers, because you can move him
Oh yeah,
around with
throwing
the
Pudge around the board.
with a grapple shot. So you push it, and then
Yeah.
you do the hook shot, and then you grapple shot. I saw him hit an opponent for 14 in the top 8. It like in one turn. It
Oh
was just
yeah.
nasty. But to
Oh,
me, that is so exciting. It seems, I don't know, to me, and again, I'm not the most knowledgeable in like game design, but it seems like a very healthy meta in that. And then also we have Gothic coming out soon, right? So like everything's about to get
oh
turned on
yeah.
its head, which I just find very exciting. And it sounds like you're having fun
Well,
building around it too.
yeah, and the flavor first design really, I think, does something to the like where like cards, like there's just so much personality in the cards that there's a lot of, like Pudge Butcher is a great example of a card that, like, when they made that, they were just sort of like, this is just a great theory, like just a fun flavor giant blob monster with a hook on a chain that he throws and grabs things, and he can't move, but he's really big and kind of cheap to play. But then, like, there's so much you can do with him, and he's a total menace on the board. Uh, so yeah, I think all of the flavor driven design definitely brings out some interesting deck building possibilities. And we're hitting the point now where like it's hard to build a deck that works into everything, and I think that's going to happen even more. Right? Like I took apart my Fire Druid paper copy just because I want to play different things until Gothic comes out. I
Uh-huh.
built a Battle Mage because I just traded for a Battle Mage, and it's like Battle Mage is one of those avatars where, in a lot of matchups, you can really wreck, but then there's like certain decks you come up against where it's like, oh, this is you know almost impossible for me to win into, right? Like, I mean, obviously, there's always room for good plays and whatnot, but I imagine with all 13 new avatars,
Oh
we're going to
man.
end up with so much diversity in decks that like it's hard to, every deck's going to have decks it's weak to and strong to.
And like you said, like preparing for the Cornerstone, like at events outside of that, you're trying the sorcerer and trying other things. I think that's what a lot of people do. I'm similar in that way, in that like if there's a tournament but it's not high stakes, like why not try something different?
Yeah.
And I can't wait for Gothic, to like purposefully avoid trying to like play meta decks at those events. But when it's like SCG Con or Gen Con or Cornerstone, all right, let's see what's winning and maybe pick one,
Yeah.
or at least take inspiration from one. So
Yeah. It's
go
fun to
ahead.
both build for like optimized decks and to build for just like cool concept decks, and that there's so much room for both. And like even the big tournaments, there's not that so much at stake that like you're worried or whatever.
Yeah, I even at SCG Con Houston, Duo ended up winning that event. I played against him not really knowing who he was. Like I think we played in a sealed event, so it wasn't in the actual constructed, but like I didn't get the sense that he was the guy who was going to win the event. Not meaning that in an offensive
Yeah.
way, but in like he didn't come across as like arrogant or
Yeah.
cocky or rude or trying to they call it oh, the term escapes me now. Sorry. In like edge, what is it? Where when you're playing Magic and you're basically like skirting the lines of what's gray and what's allowed. Gosh darn it, I can't remember
Yeah.
the term, but he didn't come across like that. And then even in his like final match at the end, they were talking through each other's plays. He wasn't just like, all right,
Yeah.
I passed turn, or silently playing cards and then pointing at him and saying your go. It was very friendly. And despite being like the big tournament, like you said, it's high stakes, like you want to win, but that essence of sorcery is still there even at the top, which I find really refreshing. I think all of us do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great community.
Well, let's talk about your deck, man. So you've got it. I think I saw the night after you won that you. It sounds like you probably had it private and then posted it public as soon as you won. Is that how you uploaded that?
Yeah. Well, and I have a lot of different like the I definitely the main branch of it is not private at all. Like everyone in the community has seen the list, but like the exact list I was playing, I just kind of made a new deck list because I notice with a lot of people when they post their lists from these events, it's their main branch of their list, and then as they fiddle with it in the future, it's not actually the deck they played in that event anymore. So I wanted to cut a copy of the deck that was like for posterity, like this is the exact deck that I played in this event.
That makes sense, and that's appreciated. Like you said, if I ever wanted to go back, like what did he play at that event and it's been updated? That would be a bummer. And I probably have done
Yeah.
that unintentionally.
Yeah.
Gone back and
Well,
oh,
and
I forgot this was in here. Huh.
there's definitely some modifications to this deck that were very specific to like what I expected coming into our local Cornerstone. Yeah.
Could you give any examples of some of the things you were looking out for specifically at Portland Game Store?
So yeah, at PGS there are two players, one of whom actually wasn't at the Cornerstone, who are still playing Archimago in our scene. And Archimago is rough, especially when it's well piloted. So like Mask of Mayhem is a card that I've been on and off for this deck a lot, but I generally don't keep it in the deck because my philosophy with Fire Druid is you want to be playing minions that do things, right? Because everyone's like the name of the game is board presence, and so you want to play minions that are going to have an effect when they land, and then your opponent might remove them or might not, but if you're drawing more minions and playing more minions, you're probably gonna outgas your opponent. So Mask of Mayhem isn't a minion. It's kind of expensive, but it gives you that potential for big burst damage, which is what you need against decks that heal, right? So I
Yeah.
kind of see it as like a second copy of Boudica, which like Boudica is a no-brainer because it's a minion that gives you burst damage. But Mask of Mayhem isn't a minion. It's got a lot, like I've definitely seen Mask of Mayhem, like you play it for big damage and then it turns on its head and all of a sudden it's doing a bunch of damage to you.
Right.
That's a card I don't usually play in the deck that I added. Rift Valley was my like secret weapon, which will probably like, I don't know, at this point, if you're playing monocolor, I think you should put Rift Valley in your deck. This is one, the guy, I can't remember his name, he went top 4 at what was it? The one where the other fire druid got first place, the Crossroads, Baltimore.
In Baltimore, yeah.
Yeah, but him and I had been talking a lot in the comment section of our decks about Town, which is like the 4th place fire druid, and I both are believers in Town. And I kind of talked him into going up to 3 towns. And he was the one who was like, well, you should really be playing Rift Valley. And another one of our local players, Jesse, always tells me to play Rift Valley. And it is so good, right? Like Rift Valley, you end up being able to move things with it, and movement and sorcery is king. Like, just you never know what you're going to need to do with movement, but you always can use it to great effect.
I experienced this one firsthand the other day. I was playing my water deck
Yeah.
against you, and I was not. It was the last thing I was expecting was a Rift Valley, and it just, I was probably already losing, but it just, was the like just cemented your victory. Like, oh my gosh, whatever momentum I had in my body of water was now split in half. Like, great. It was very effective.
You can move their avatar with it a lot of the time. You can play it to be able to drop a Kobold or a Violent for a death blow or a Colicky Dragon. Like, you have all these minions that can deal a death blow through blockers if you can get it next to their avatar, right? Dragonettes, Violent, and Kobold. And so you hold on to a Rift Valley and drop it for the kill is super handy.
That's cool.
And there's just a lot you can do with the Rift Valley. I'm almost tempted to drop a Wizard's End. Like, I did a lot of math with this deck, like using the geometric calculator or whatever it's called. And I kind of came to the answer that you want maximum 8 non-fire sites. And so I'm running exactly 8 non-fire sites, 2 Wizard Den, 3 Town, 2 Sinkhole, 1 Rift Valley. And I almost want to make it 2 Rift Valley if I was going to keep running this deck and take out one of the other ones, because I guess Rift Valley kind of doubles as a Sinkhole some ways, because you can use it to move Pebbled Path or to get past Gnome Hollow or a Perilous Bridge. Like,
Right.
you play in the Sinkholes, and the Smokestacks are largely there to handle control decks, right?
Right.
And so you mulligan those if you're not expecting control. So yeah, those are some of the. Oh, and Escalon Phoenix. I'm not a fan of the Phoenix, but with fire being so prevalent, you kind of just have to play it. I would rather this Phoenix were a Panorama Manticore, because I think the Manticore is just better in a like even element meta. But when the meta is so fire heavy, the Phoenix is just such a problem for everyone.
When you mentioned that you calculated for your sites, I was just curious. How did you do that?
I can show you. There's
yeah, thanks.
This hypergeometric calculator thing. It's something I picked up from Froggy Mago. You can use this to sort of, so like if I have 30 sites and I need to make sure that I get a fire site and I need to hit 2 fire threshold in my first 4 sites. So if I have 24 fire sites in my deck, or 22 is with 8, and I'm drawing 4 sites and I need a minimum 2, maximum 4, hit calculate, I got a 95% chance with 8 non-fire sites of hitting 2 fire sites in my first 4, right? If I have 10 non-fire sites and I run that calculation again, I go down to 90%. And so that's why like 7 is actually, I think, the ideal, because I know you end up at like 97%. So that's
Mm.
like, you're almost never gonna not get your 4. And really, your sample size is more than 4 because you get the mulligan. So if you think about it, you're looking at probably 6 sites to get your first 3 sites. I did that wrong. So sample size is 6. Minute maximum number of successes 6. There you go. And now you've got 99% chance, 99.9% chance with 7 non-fire sites of being able to mulligan into a minimum of 2 sites
That's
that aren't
awesome.
fire.
Thanks for walking me through that.
Right.
I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. You said you learned that from Frogamago, who, if I'm not mistaken, he's more like a limited player, right?
Yeah. Which I limited, I know you and I have talked about this before. I like limited better than constructed. Like, it's really fun to be in a game where I can brew and not feel like it's a waste of time and the game is solved. But I would rather play limited almost any day. They're just
Yeah.
limited
Okay.
hasn't been big locally because it's been so long since the release. But once Gothic comes out, we're gonna be playing a lot of limited.
Yeah, we should
And
do some
yeah,
some
I love.
definite like regular drafts. I've yet to do a regular pass packs draft. I've only done
Yeah,
sealed.
yeah, yeah. Same with me. And like, yeah, people locally are less into drafting, but I think our community is growing a lot locally right now, and we're pulling in like that's a number of the people who've joined recently. I went to a casual sorcery meetup when I first started out, and no
Uh
one
huh.
came. And it was Friday night Magic night, and they were one person short for a Magic draft. So I was like, okay, I'll draft Magic. Like, I want everyone to play. And then everyone I played against, I just talked to them about sorcery the whole time. And we got like 3 new sorcery players from me doing that. It's like I
Dude,
almost want to go to more Magic drafts just to recruit.
the same thing happened to me. That's so cool that you say that because I feel like at any event where there's other card players, a lot of the times they'll come over and ask, like, "Hey, do you mind if I watch your game?" And you can tell they're curious. Like you can
Oh
tell they're
yeah,
intrigued by the artwork or the just the you know chess nature of the game, whatever it is. You can tell they're like, "Well, what? This is really different. I've never seen this." And there was I had a similar experience at Portland Game Store where I went for a Friday night thing, and it was just myself and Portland Game Store Steve, and I had just joined, so I only had the beta precons. But I hope he's fine me saying this, but there's another player named Bobby. He was there, and that
oh
was
yeah,
his first time seeing the game. And ever since that night, I've seen him at every event. So it's cool to know,
oh
like,
yeah.
oh, when he was there, I let him and
Yeah.
Steve play a match with my precons, I think, and he's in. So that's awesome. Like that's
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
people. If
Bobby was one of the people I played in that Magic draft too, and I was like talking to him about sorcery, and he was kind of intrigued. And yeah, now he's like diehard sorcery player. Him and I
we
play
got
a
him,
lot online.
we got him.
Well, and he's a really good drafter too in Magic. So I imagine once we're playing more limited locally, he's a force to be reckoned with in the
have
local
you
scene. We do a lot of deck brewing together.
have you ever dabbled with less than 8 player drafts? Like I think they're called like Winchester drafts or like 4 player
Or
drafts. Like maybe we could do
Winston
that.
draft.
Like
Yeah.
would you be
Yeah, I
open
would
to
love
doing
to do
that?
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like
I'm super into drafting, and it's gonna get big. Like, I think everyone wants, like, the reason why sorcery players are a little more collector oriented, I think, than Magic players, because like the
yeah.
art's so cool and people are really into getting their play sets and stuff. So it does kind of stink when you're drafting and you see a card where you're like, this, I want it for my collection, but I don't need it for my draft. Like, what do I do? You know?
Right, right. I
But
think you always take it for the collection, even if you lose. But that's just me.
yeah, I'm the opposite. I'm there to draft. I'm gonna draft the cards. Although I guess I used to do that in Magic because I would always like sell all my cards after a draft in Magic. So I didn't want to collect them. So if there was like
Mm,
a really valuable card, especially when I was short on cash, I would just draft the valuable card. So after the draft, I could just like sell it to someone at the event.
right. Yeah, well, I hope
But
after Gothic, I would imagine there's going to be, at least for the first 3 months, I'm sure there'll be enough hype that people would be down to draft. So I'd be happy to help
oh yeah,
get that going with you. Like if you and I kind of promote it on
well,
Discord, like let's get a game going.
and Portland Game Store is wants to do more limited. So I think this probably isn't super interesting to the YouTube audience, but I think when we hit like we're rising in players, and I think once we hit that critical mass where we could reliably get 8 people for like a weekly or monthly draft, Portland Game Store will be really happy to start hosting it.
I'm excited. That'll be cool. And on a personal note, I might be moving a little closer to Portland than I am
Oh,
now, so I could probably come
that'd be
to
great.
like if we did like casual Friday meetups and I just showed up and it was just you and me. It's
Yeah,
like, dude, Winchester draft. Like we could just like,
yeah,
we could just whatever or just play some constructed whatever. But I hope to be able to
yeah,
pop in once a week if I can. That'd be fun.
yeah. And the casual Fridays are popular. Like we had 4 people
Nice.
when we're new players, and that was kind of a low turnout. So, do you want to talk deck tech anymore? Or
Yeah, I think your audio just clicked. It almost sounds like cleaner now. I'm not sure what happened on your end or if you had a Bluetooth headset going or something, but it sounds good.
something just I see what changed. I should leave it though.
Yeah, go ahead and leave it. I'm just gonna tweak your audio level a little bit. I think it lowered,
Okay.
but it sounds pretty good. Not
Yeah,
that it was
my
bad before, but
phone
it just sounds cleaner now. I'll turn you up.
my phone just took over as the microphone for some reason on
Oh,
my
yeah, it sounds
computer.
nice now. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
if you could please walk us through the deck, just give us kind of a tour of it. And I know you kind of already touched briefly on what you were looking to play against at the Cornerstone. You mentioned the Archimago, but that player did not. I think it was Jesse. Um, by the way, you were talking about Jesse
No, no, no,
before. I thought you meant Eric's Curiosa Jesse, like the guy who works at the company. I didn't know there was a
no, no,
local
no.
named Jesse, so I have to. I'm not
Yeah,
sure if I've met
I
Jesse
don't
yet,
know
but
yeah. So Fire Druid, like it's been said before, but it's all about the gas. You want to play a minion every turn. I don't count Courtesan Thias as a minion, so my goal is minimum 30 minions. I'd like to go up to 32, um, but removal is kind of king right now, so I ended up settling on 30 real minions in the deck. Um, Obviously, Druid, you just get the crazy utility out of Tawny, ping damage, spellcaster wherever you need her. Um, Jihad is, one of those broken uniques that really runs the game. It's then the final match, of the tournament. It was me against Portland Steve, who's one of the people who helps run the events at Portland Game Store. But he's playing a Fire Druid that's closer to the Julian list,
I see.
and he played Jihad turn 2, and I was like, oh, game over, you win. And I ended up winning that game because he kind of got shorted on minions, which I think is the problem with that deck, is it runs a little lower on minions. So he ended up just like not having enough minions to really use the Jihad. But yeah, great card, great famine. So the removal suite on this deck is one of the interesting debates. And like for any, diehard players out there, you'll notice that infiltrate is not in the deck, right? And when you're talking about your hard removal and fire, right, you've got disintegrate, great famine, and infiltrate are the sort of hardest of the hard removals. And infiltrate is super popular. A lot of people love it. I think infiltrate is not that good. Hot take. Uh, but it's got a lot of benefit. Like infiltrate, the benefit of it that I think a lot of people have noticed now is even if someone has a way to sort of uninfiltrate their minion, which happens a lot because people stealth is big right now, so people play a root spider to cancel the infiltrate, or a watchtower. There's all these ways to sort of get your minions back that got infiltrated, which is why I don't like to play it. But it does just sort of tap out a defender for the turn, which can be really useful for getting in damage. But at the end of the day, I just don't like infiltrate because it's not hard removal. It doesn't literally eliminate the unit from the game, and it can kind of turn on you. And I'm all about reliability with this deck. I mean, sorcery is really volatile because we play best of one, but a deck that can do the same thing every game is hard to pull off, and is, I think, really valuable. And that's the idea with mono fire, in my opinion, is like you got the trinkets in there too, which are kind of a no-brainer, just for being able to trade up, or eke in extra damage, use your mana every turn. But what really runs this deck is the exceptional minions. We got Warhorse, Dragonette, Kobold, Powries, Harpies, one Basilisk right now. Sometimes I go more Basilisk. I like the Basilisk is really good with dealing with the popularity of Escalon Phoenix. And it's my way to counter an infiltrate, right? Like, you infiltrate one of my minions, I drop Basilisk, it's my minion again.
Oh, that makes sense. I also, yeah, you played this against me, and I had to kind of wrap my head around how it works. Like it's the at rest effect, right?
Yeah. Basilisk is just kind of a worse root spider, but it's in fire. And it it's surprisingly easy for your opponent to remove Basilisk, is like one of the reasons why I don't play more of them. It's like, you'd think it's great because you're like, oh, I disabled your minion, but because any minion in motion can kind of hit it, and it's only 3 power, so it dies to minor explosion and magic missiles or firebolts. So it's not really super reliable, but it can really swing games and can do a lot of things. And like, you can Hillock Basilisk and Immolate, or Hillock Basilisk and Fire Breathing, to kill a Phoenix, right? And the Phoenix is one of those cards that you just lose to. You can also use it to try and shut down the Infernal Legion, which I'm not playing Legions. I also have the Siege Giant and the Raiders, so that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 22 exceptional minions in this deck. And that's why Town just pops off.
That makes sense.
Right? You play your Town down, and the Town, you find yourself double minioning off of the Town as early as turn 4, right? And it can do some crazy things. Like, a lot of the strategy of playing this deck is not overplaying your minions. Like, one thing I learned from a lot of the testing with this deck, like especially against there's so much board wipe removal. Knowing you have the ability to double Powery at some point in your hand doesn't mean you should do it right away, because you want to save it for when it will really count sometimes.
Mm.
And so that was a lot of, like, especially some of the like top 8 games. Like, the other thing I do with this deck is I never draw a sight for turn, basically.
That
Like,
was one thing I took
occasion,
away from our game together, was that you were very adamant on never drawing a sight, and I've been trying to
yeah,
apply that into my own game, and I think it is for the better.
yeah. Like, you want to play a card or deal with a threat on your turn, right? But so there's, like, on rare occasions I'll draw a sight for turn on turn 4, because maybe they have a big threat and I have a 4-cost answer to it. But aside from that rare case, card draw is king, and all you've got is Morgana and the Wizard's Dens and Pact with the Devil for
Mm.
getting you extra cards. But by being smart about when you play your minions and where, so that you can try and keep them on the board and hold that sort of board presence dominance. Uh, I ended up with more cards in hand than my opponents almost every game, um, except for like the game against the Jet Speaker, who had way more cards than me. But I just then you see like, oh, they're spending all their mana to play Grandmaster Wizards. I am gonna double Powery and just plow in the
Right.
damage quickly before they can use all the cards they've drawn. So that's a big part of the strategy. Um,
Are there any
the
matchups
other,
with this that you've? I mean, I know you're undefeated, so maybe it's a stupid question, but are there any matchups that you worry about more when playing with
yeah,
this deck?
well, definitely. So I didn't even get to the hero of the deck is Peasant's Revolt, which you don't see in many deck lists for Mono Fire, but I think it is essential. And so my big fears are a well-piloted Archimago that manages to get an Angel's Egg out is really hard to handle. Um, and Peasant's Revolt, because they play a lot of unique and elite lands, a lot of the time I play so few elite or unique sites that Peasant's Revolt can swing the mana in my favor, not just the board. And you can use Peasant's Revolt to clear a Morgana's Ring, to clear the really dangerous auras like Atlantean Fate or an opponent's Jihad. You can Peasant's Revolt can kill your opponent's Phoenixes if you don't have an answer to Phoenix, which that happened to me
Right.
in one game. Someone got out 2 Phoenixes. I had the Peasant's Revolt, so I could clear both of their Phoenixes, and like then I felt great, right?
That's
Um,
brutal.
so
Yeah, Peasant
yeah,
Result, when you did play this against our one match, and I was surprised to see it because I had never seen it. But the fact that it doesn't just hit all of your minions, but hits your sites, just it felt
yeah,
crippling.
yeah. It can really, and for Archimago, like in the previous Cornerstone, in the Swiss rounds, I played the Kellen, who ended up winning the Cornerstone with an Archimago deck, and I managed to beat him in a game that was like I felt like I was losing the whole game, which happens against Archimago a lot. And
Yeah.
but when he hit the first Craterize, I was then able to Peasant's Revolt and clear, like knock him back down to like 5 mana or something, so he couldn't Craterize a second time. And then I managed to sort of claw my way to a victory by just like slowing down the kill that he had set up, right?
Right.
And that was definitely a Peasant's Revolt win. Um, and I think that one I also ended up hitting the Courtesan, which is like if you can hit Courtesan and Peasant Revolt against Archimago, you're living the dream. Because Courtesan, people, one thing I didn't realize at first is you can burn spells without casting them from Archimago's graveyard if you've taken over on their turn.
Without so you banish 3 and then you is it a May after that point?
So it's a must, but if they don't have the mana to do it, it's a sequential thing. So what you do is you spend all their mana casting spells out of their hand or graveyard that either help you or do nothing for them, and then you can flip 3 at a time from their graveyard and say, I'm going to flip 3 to try and cast Craterize. Oops, I don't have the mana. Like, that fails. I'll flip it right.
What? Oh
And that
wow, I
that's
didn't
sort of,
realize that. That's huge.
yeah, someone, I saw that in a YouTube video online where they pointed that out. And that's like one of the fine points of sorcery stuff is like things happen in order, right? Like, trying to see if there's any cards in here that have a good example of that. Um, I don't think I do have any that really depend on that. Well, I guess like so, like for Shatter Strike, right? An ally targets an enemy adjacent to them, destroying an artifact they're carrying, and then striking them, right? So if any step in that fails, that's fine, right? Like, as long as you have an ally, which actually you don't even need to have an ally because this doesn't say target ally, but, right, it's sort of like a step along the journey in a spell can just kind of fail, and the journey continues unless it says to, right? Like, so Morgana's Ring is one of the few exceptions where
Ring of Morgan, yeah.
Ring of Morgan, like, this unit, when they deal 1 damage to target unit, to have you gain 1 life. So if they don't deal the damage, they don't gain the life.
I
right?
see. Yeah.
But if you look at Archimago, player banish 3 magic spells in your cemetery, cast a copy of one of them. So you have to cast a copy if you can, but banishing you don't have to know you can cast a copy to do the first part. So you can do the first part and have the second part fail if you're not able to cast a copy.
That's insane. So you Cortisynthesis and basically banish everything you can as long as they have, divisible by 3. You can do it maybe a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can clear out their most dangerous cards, and ideally in a fire druid, if you keep all the burn spells out of your hand before casting Courtesan, then all you have is like minions. And what are they going to do? Cast more of your minions? Oh no! Like,
right.
More threats on the board, right?
If you were to remove Cortisynthesis after it's resolved, does its effect go away, or is it still kind of on the story or the stack or whatever they call it in sorcery? Like
it would still happen, yeah.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
A lot of the Genesis effect. This is a fun. Like, I got really into the Brobdingnag Frog
yeah.
conundrum on the rules Discord, but basically a Genesis effect sort of creates a persistent thing. So, like, we had this whole discussion about if you shapeshift a Brobdingnag Bullfrog, does the minion it disabled stay in its belly because it loses its ability, but because it was a Genesis ability, it creates a persistent effect of a minion being swallowed and disabled and in the belly until this card leaves the realm. So when you shapeshift it, it keeps the minion that it swallowed in its belly.
Because it's a Genesis effect and not an active passive ability. In which case it would would not work. So it was deemed that that's how it works. Like it stays.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
As opposed to this, like a Train Constrictor, he has a tap ability that kind of grabs the minion, but because this is a tap ability that's sort of written on the card, this ability is not gonna.
That makes sense,
right?
Well, I run the frog and the transform card in my deck, so that's really good to know.
Yeah.
And you also taught me that I didn't realize that you can still attack the minion that was disabled and is in the belly. For some reason, I just figured it's under the card or it's out of the realm. I didn't actually think that far, but you had let me know, yeah, you can swallow something and then on the following turn, unless you have charge, you can attack that creature with the frog. So that was another thing I picked up from our game. That's huge.
Yeah, there's a lot of, sorcery, you and I both agree, we think it's the greatest trading card game in existence right now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It is complicated. Like, as I'm recruiting new people, I don't lie to them about the fact, like, I love that it's complicated, but the cards are simple, the gameplay is complex, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fine points of reading the rules on these cards and understanding how they interact.
I think it's in the nature of the game to play kind of incorrectly until you're corrected, if that makes sense. Like, that's been my experience. Yeah. Like, I've been playing this wrong the whole time and teaching people incorrectly. Yeah. So I got to be careful with that. And I have a quick aside question. Did you happen to comment? Someone was commenting on a YouTube video I did where I did a how to play. And Stu is in the name. Was that you by chance?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were giving me pointers in there too, where I was teaching, what I think is the game, but it's like, well, technically, so I have to be careful when I'm teaching the game to just preface that I'm still learning. And I try to make sure to let them know that I I don't know the game 100%, and that's why I like having that comment section, because we can discuss. It's cool.
Yeah, and we all get, like, I get stuff wrong all the time, and like have had, gosh, I still struggle with the desert Tawny rule, even though it's in the freaking codex. Like, I have this debate all the time about if you play a desert and kill your own Tawny with the desert when you play it, does your Tawny then summon to the desert you just played? And the
That's a
answer
good
is yes,
question.
it does.
Really?
But I was a firm believer that it didn't for a long time, and I think I even like convinced a couple people where I was like, no, 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 that's not how it works, because like the storyline and blah blah blah. But it's another thing where you read the steps one at a time, right? So tap, player draw a site. So you do that first, right? So you play
Yeah.
your site. The site has now entered the realm, and so its Genesis effect
Happens.
um, interrupts the storyline of you having played this. And so its Genesis effect takes effect, and then you finish reading this card, right? If you played a site and you don't control Tawny, summon her here. And so
That,
the desert will always trigger before Tawny would summon. And so that means like a couple things. Like, one, you can kill a Tawny with the desert to resummon it to the desert. Two, you can target, like, when you play the desert as your first site, like that's something people got confused about, where they're like, well, if I play it as my first site, doesn't Sonny summon but then die because I have to target the site with desert? But that it always, the Genesis will always resolve before Tawny plays.
that yeah, that was another concern I had playing this turn one. Like, oh shoot, it summons but then kills a Tawny, because I got the order in which the story happens wrong. And I now that you explain it in that way, I've never thought of it that way. Obviously, like in other games, they usually call it the stack, and just that you can interrupt and
Yeah.
add things to the stack, and then they resolve, front to back. But I think it's really clever that they worded it as the story, like you said, because with the Druid effect, something happens, you play the site, but there's a period there, like the sentence pauses. So now when the Genesis happens, it almost like adds a sentence in front of, like, into the paragraph, and then you just like read the story. I think that's really clever.
Well, and that's I mean, haven't talked about how, like, I mean, as much as it's a cool strategic game that you can play competitively and it has a lot of interesting interactions, it is like impressive to me how much story comes into it, right? Like, in sorcery, I forget where I was having this discussion, but when you describe a game you played of sorcery to another sorcery player, it sounds like you're telling a story, not like you're describing a strategy game, right?
Definitely.
Like, when I describe a game of Magic to someone else, it's sort of like, oh, well, they had the their combo pop, right? Like, and you sort of describe it in this like high level stuff. When you describe a game of sorcery, you're like, oh, I had them at death's door and had 3 minions, they had no blockers, and then they summoned a plague of flogs and snowballed everything I had across the board and managed to, like, death door me, and then I flipped, summoned my Bruin, right? Like, and it's like such an action driven game, and like the cards themselves just like lend to like this almost storytelling aspect.
It's almost like a game of D&D.
Yeah. Well, and I think they really were inspired by tabletop games. I mean, I'm a big D&D player. I got 2 campaigns that I'm DMing right now. It's actually a problem. Sorcery has like cut into my campaign planning. I'm too obsessed with sorcery. I feel
Naturally.
bad for my players. I'm like, oh man, my sessions are not as well prepared as they usually are.
Maybe they'll
But
be
all of the
inspired by your
avatars.
sorcery interactions, and you can come up with a cool
Oh,
encounter.
there's a ranger in one of my campaigns who just got Tawny as a companion. Like,
That's
like, I
awesome.
didn't tell them it was Tawny, but I was like, they like met this great horned owl, and then they hit level 3 and chose Beastmaster, and like now they have a great horned owl beast companion who's 100% just Tawny written
That is
into
so
my
funny.
D&D campaign.
It's such a relief to me that although the game is like thematically cool, the artwork is cool, and the story and the being the stack essentially, I'm so glad that in addition to all of those things being cool, that the game is great, like competitively and casually. Like you said, it can get
Oh
complicated. It
yeah,
can get into the weeds a little bit. But like if this game was all of those things but just wasn't competitive, it'd still be a really good game. It'd be fun. It'd be more like a maybe
yeah.
considered almost like a board game of sorts. But in addition to all of that, it's not only all of those things, but it's also collectible, it's draftable, and it's super fun and addicting gameplay. And like yourself, I am
Oh yeah.
obsessed. I still need to get some more reps in with games, I think, to kind of get into any top eights. I don't think I'm quite there yet. But man, I
Oh, you're
cannot
getting
wait for
there though.
Gothic, and I cannot wait to just brew with, casually with those, and then continue to play with meta things at Cornerstone
Oh
events. And
yeah,
are there any conventions that you plan to go to? I know there's the Portland SCG Con in early
yeah.
2026. I imagine you'll go to that. But is there anything else?
Definitely going there.
They just announced in Indianapolis the sorcery convention in February, I
Yeah,
think. I don't know. I just wanted to ask
I'm
if you were planning to go to anything.
I'm really like because I really want to go to like I'm intrigued to know if SCG or if Sorcery Con is gonna have like they haven't announced where the Avatar of the Realm event is gonna be yet. And so I'm kind of saving up my brownie points for going to that wherever it ends up. But
Got it.
if like part of me wonders if they're going to announce that the Avatar of the Realm is at Sorcery Con, and if they do, then I might really try and go to Sorcery Con.
What
I still like, yeah.
what is the Avatar of the Realm? I don't know what that is.
So when they like created the competitive scene, which is kind of new, they introduced cornerstones, which are your like local top tier events, right? Your sort of kind of local area championship events. Crossroads, which are supposed to be sort of larger geographic area championship events. And then there's going to be an event that hasn't happened yet called the Avatar of the Realm, which is going to be the like, global sort of highest prestige competitive event in sorcery. And so we don't know when it's going to be yet. They haven't really announced any details, but when
I
they
see.
announced competitive play, that was sort of like see if we can. That's sort of what they announced as the
Oh, I
Avatar of
see.
the Realm, featuring the Sorcery World Championship. So
Got it.
that
Got it.
that's the dream, right? I want to go play, and hopefully they'll do a limited, and I'm sure they will do a limited and a constructed. Because that's I really, if I can, like, being a good constructed player is really cool. And I do like. We also didn't talk about the turn-based thing, which that like as a I love that
Oh,
in
I know.
sorcery
I know.
everything happens at sorcery speed, and
It's
so you
great.
really plan your turns, and like that's I mean that's like I'm a really methodical person and how I think about games, and that's so much of how I feel like I do well in tournaments is like really like calculating the turns and calculating what they're going to be able to do on their turn. And there's not this like when you come up with a plan of something to execute on your turn, like aside from them playing dodge roll or valor, like you're
Yeah.
gonna be able to do what you planned on doing. There's not this like I came up with a great plan for being able to death door them right now, but oh, they played a instant speed response, and now all of my thinking was for nothing. you know?
Yeah, and it gives you a bit like you said, if you know something I'm trying to get better at is like on my opponent's turn deciding what I'm gonna do, so then I don't have to really think about it. It's like I know unless I draw something crazy, I know what I'm gonna do next turn. Um, but you get a little bit of a mental break. Like I know
Yeah.
I passed the turn. I'm like, well,
Oh,
I
I
know what
love
I'm gonna
that.
do next turn, assuming I don't draw a better card, in which case I'll come up with a different plan. But I'll let him see what he does, and then I can kind of relax a little bit rather than be always ready to cast an instant spell like in Magic, so to speak, where you just be so exhausted after a best of three and then go into round two. You're like, gosh darn it. So
Yeah.
I think it's really appreciated. And I hope that I would imagine it seems like Eric's Curioso probably not saying they shouldn't, but I would hope that they don't print a lot of, if any more, of those instant speed cards like Dodge Roll. Um, I think just the sorcery
Yeah.
speed of all the cards is appreciated because you don't have to overthink I mean, you do, but you don't have to overthink of like, okay, what could they cast at instant speed? It's more about once I do this, what do they have? And I guess with Gothic coming up, there's going to be the collection, which I'd love to talk about once that comes out and kind of the dust settles a little bit, because that's going to add a whole lot to the deck
Oh
building
yeah.
process in a game that is primarily best of one. But it adds a sideboard, which is a lot. I'm a huge fan of a sideboard.
Oh yeah.
Because you could have your deck, but then just change your sideboard for a meta, or a particular game store. I think that's such a unique solution to a best of one way to still allow that variation in a sideboard
Oh
and
yeah.
flexibility. So it's really
And
looking
it's going to be
positive.
cool in limited too, because in limited your collection is everything you drafted or everything you opened.
I hadn't even considered that. That's a really good point. Uh
Yeah, so like there's going to be a lot of fun
grab something from your
interactions in
collection and
limited.
you have some cards.
Yeah.
That's a
So
good
like there's gonna
point.
be certain cards like the sites that let you play minions, where it's like now that minion, which was kind of like a mid-range, it's like a 3 power for 3 mana, so it's a solid draftable card, but wouldn't usually be your top pick. But now you're like, oh, I could open, like there's a chance I'll end up with the ability to draft a site that would allow me to summon this minion. And then this minion isn't just a 3 power for 3, it's a 3 power for 3 with card advantage because I didn't have to draw the card to play it. I
Right.
just got to play it off of playing the site. So then I now
Oh,
like knocks that up in your thing, and even if you're not going to play it in your right, then you don't have to put it in your deck, and it just gets so interesting.
that's going to be super interesting. And I hope that we can coordinate and inspire a lot of other people in our local area to also hop on to Limited, because I haven't really had the time to do the online. I think it's the Siege at the Core, I think is what it's called. It's based
Oh
in
yeah,
Europe.
I know.
And they seem to have a lot of cool events, but I think their regular draft is on Wednesdays, and then they do like a sealed event. So I might have to just do the sealed event just for my schedule.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
look
I
forward to doing a
plan
lot of
their
drafting.
fields every month. Yeah, but the draft I like always can't. I just barely can't do it. Like I feel like every Wednesday I like try to find a way to pull off being able to play the online draft, and I never can quite do it.
Well, let's try to
Got
get
work
that
and
going
stuff.
with Gothic on even if just on those like casual Friday nights. If we show up and there's three of us or four of us and we figure out how we want to draft. Even if it's a little goofy. I'm super down, and hopefully more. I hope we can get closer to 8 players. But
Yeah. Well, and we're gonna get at least 2, if not 3, sealed events on release weekend
oh yeah,
for
I'll be
Gothic.
there.
So
I'll be there. I'll be there for Saturday and Sunday for sure.
yeah,
I just asked my wife, and
that's
she's
gonna be
like,
great.
just gave me a silent thumbs up. Like, can I go to that too? I've been going to a lot of events. So I actually, to your
Yeah.
point with the sorcery con, I don't know if I can go to it just because I'm going to Vegas in 2 weeks, and I don't want
Oh
to say
yeah.
I'm
Same.
regretting it, but I'm kind of maybe thinking, oh, maybe I should have waited like to see which event I want to pick next year. But either way, I'll go, and then I'll see if I
Oh,
can realistically fund another trip in 2026, because I can obviously go to Portland, but I'd love to go to another event if I can, but just can't break the bank. So I'm trying to sell my
oh,
foil Dragonlord cards, frankly, to fund the trips. That's kind of how I funded Vegas. Was I just cracked
nice.
open
Yeah.
Dragonlord and sold it all, except for my foil Shrine of the Dragonlord. So if anyone is listening and is looking to trade and or purchase a Shrine of the Dragonlord, I'll give you a good insider, good price. So please let me know,
Nice.
because I need the cash to go to more sorcery events.
Yeah.
Hey, Stu, I really appreciate your time. I think we could naturally and very
Yeah,
easily
we've
talk for
gone on
another
so
hour.
long.
Oh no, this was awesome, man. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time. Thanks for coming on. I feel like every time I chat with you, I learn a little bit. But with Gothic coming forward, I hope that we can learn from each other and just brew all sorts of things. And I'd love to have you on again if you ever have the time. Is there anything
Definitely.
or
Oh yeah.
anything that you do that you would like to promote? I guess I didn't ask before we started. If there's any plugs or anything you want to do, or social media, or is there anything like that?
No, I mean I'm not super big on all that. I keep flirting with the idea of trying to YouTube. Occasionally, I used to stream Go on Twitch every now and then, but not really. The only thing I would plug is if you're in or near the Portland area, freaking come to our events. Like they're It's definitely, the more we make it worth the game shops' time to host the events, the more events they're going to host. And like, it would just be so cool to really, like, if we had a strong enough community that weekly drafts would be profitable and reliable for the Portland Game Store, like that would just be awesome.
Yeah, and
So
I'll
just
go ahead and
come out
link.
to events if you're in the area. Yeah.
I'll also link the Discord that we're in for like the Pacific Northwest of the USA. It's
Yep.
like Oregon and Washington. There are other areas outside of Portland, like within an hour or two, or even up, toward like Seattle. So if you're in anywhere near the Pacific Northwest or plan to come out here or just want to hop in, like please make sure you check that out. I'll make sure and link
Yeah.
it below.
Oh yeah, and check out Rose City Sorcery. In fact, if you want to see the fire breathing druid, I guess I didn't say the title of this deck. Um, I call it the fire breathing druid because I'm really into playing fire breathing, the main branch of it, which I think is a surprisingly good spell, just because you can play it off of your dragonettes or your lion or whatever. But if you want to see the fire breathing druid in action, Rose City Sorcery is about to start posting all of the top table game recordings from our Cornerstone. So you'll see this deck in a handful of those videos. Sam was actually complaining, and he's like, I'm gonna have to cast like 6 games of Fire Druid. I'm like, I feel bad for him. There's 3 of us who are all pretty solid regular players in the local scene who ran Fire Druid. I think we all made the top 8, and it's out of control.
Yeah, shout out to Sam, who
Yeah.
he created Rose City Sorcery, and that's the Discord I'm gonna link. And he posts commentary on videos, and he's been really helpful even for myself because I enjoy doing YouTube
Oh
and
yeah.
recording and kind of more on the vlog sense. So he was helping me kind of get set up with my own setup to record. And well, Stu, thanks again. I look forward to diving deeper into sorcery alongside you. And thank you so much for your time. And can't wait for Gothic events coming up. It's gonna be fun, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Thanks for doing the channel. More sorcery content always is better. Let's flood the airwaves.
Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and a comment, and we'll see you next time. Bye.